Grace Kelly was a Hollywood superstar who became Princess of Monaco, trading the red carpet for a royal palace when she married Prince Rainier III in 1956. Together they had 3 children. From the outside, they looked like a storybook family. A movie star princess, a sovereign prince, and adorable royal children. But fate had a cruel twist in store. 3. Princess Caroline, the steadfast matriarch. Princess Caroline Louise Marguerite was Grace's first child, born in January 1957. From a young age, Caroline was groomed for royal responsibility. She received an elite education, graduating with honors in her French baccalaureate and studying philosophy and psychology at the Sorbonne in Paris. She also inherited her mother's artistic side, training in ballet, piano, and flute as a girl. But no amount of training could prepare her for the shock of losing her mother at 25. In the aftermath of Grace's death, Caroline was thrust into a new role. She became Monaco's unofficial First Lady, accompanying her father, Prince Rainier, to functions and leading charitable initiatives to fill the gap Princess Grace left. It was a heavy burden for a young woman, but Caroline showed grace under pressure. Those who know her describe her as intelligent, compassionate, and reliable. Quite a remarkable woman, as her brother Albert said. "She's always there, often the first person on board," Albert remarked, praising how Caroline has helped Monaco on the cultural and charitable fronts. Caroline's personal life, however, saw its own ups and downs. In 1978, at just 21, she married a dashing French banker, Philippe Junot. The wedding was a society extravaganza, but the marriage was short-lived. They divorced after 2 years and even obtained an annulment from the Catholic Church. Young, resilient Caroline found love again, with Italian industrial heir Stefano Casiraghi. They married in 1983 and had 3 children in quick succession: Andrea, Charlotte, and Pierre. Caroline seemed to have found happiness as a wife and mother, but tragedy struck once more in 1990, when Stefano was killed in a speedboat racing accident. At 33, Princess Caroline was left a widow, with 3 small children to raise on her own. In 1999, Caroline married Prince Ernst August of Hanover, a distant cousin of European royalty. With Ernst, she had a 4th child, Princess Alexandra, adding to her happy brood. This marriage made Caroline the Princess of Hanover as well, though it came with its own complications. Over the years, her relationship with Ernst became strained amid rumors, and the 2 largely live separate lives today. Still, Caroline carried on with dignity. She poured her energies into philanthropy and culture, rather than public drama. Following in her mother's footsteps, she became president of the Princess Grace Foundation and took over many of Grace's charities, including the World Association of Children's Friends, AMADA, advocating for children in need. She even founded the Ballet of Monte Carlo and champions arts from music to gardening in Monaco. In 2003, UNESCO honored Caroline by naming her a Goodwill Ambassador for her efforts in protecting children and culture. Now in her late 60s, Princess Caroline has gracefully assumed the role of family matriarch. With Prince Albert busy governing and Princess Charlene, Albert's wife, often out of the spotlight, Caroline has frequently been the warm, steady presence at the heart of Monaco's royal family. She makes sure the Grimaldi family traditions, from the annual Rose Ball to holiday gatherings, continue vibrantly. All 3 of her older children have started families of their own, and Caroline absolutely delights in her many grandchildren. In fact, as of 2025, she has 7 grandchildren, soon to be 8. 2. Prince Albert II, the ruler carrying the crown. Prince Albert Alexandre Louis Pierre. Grimaldi, Grace's 2nd child and only son, was born in March 1958. From the day he was born, Albert was destined to one day rule Monaco, but he also grew up in the unique milieu of being Grace Kelly's son, mixing with movie stars and monarchs alike. Albert was just 24 when his mother died, and in the years after, he quietly prepared for the responsibilities that lay ahead of him. He received a top-tier education, earning his baccalaureate with distinction and studying political science at Amherst College in the U.S. A man of many talents, young Albert even competed in 5 Olympic Games as a bobsledder between 1988 and 2002. Yes, this prince was an Olympian, and Albert's moment to lead came in 2005 under somber circumstances. His father, Prince Rainier III, passed away after 56 years on the throne, and Albert succeeded him as the sovereign Prince of Monaco. Stepping into his father's shoes, Albert took on the role of monarch with a steady hand and a modern vision. One of his first major initiatives was establishing the Prince Albert II Foundation in 2006, focusing on environmental protection and sustainable development. Yet, amid his duties, Prince Albert never forgot his mother's legacy. He speaks of Princess Grace often, cherishing the memories of her warmth and kindness. "Many times in a day or week, I find myself thinking of her," Albert said, reflecting on how people still tell him how extraordinary Grace was. That enduring public love for Grace Kelly is something Albert carries with pride. In a touching tribute, he even repurchased his mother's childhood home in Philadelphia and helped restore it as a place for family gatherings and charitable work, ensuring Grace's American roots remain connected to their lives. For years, he was known as one of Europe's most eligible bachelors. The pressure was on to marry and produce an heir for Monaco, and tabloids eagerly watched his love life. Albert took his time, and in the interim, he became a father in an unconventional way, twice. He had 2 children out of wedlock, a daughter, Yasmin Grace Grimaldi, born in 1992 to an American woman, and a son, Alexandra Grimaldi, born in 2003 to a woman from Togo. At first, these children were kept out of the limelight, but eventually Albert publicly acknowledged both of them and provided for their futures. Although Jasmine and Alexandra are not in the line of succession, Monaco's constitution requires the monarch's heirs be born within marriage, Albert has included them in his family circle. In fact, in 2021, he managed to gather all 4 of his children together for a photograph, the first time they had ever all been in one picture, which Yasmin proudly shared on social media. It was a heartwarming sign of Albert embracing all of his roles, prince, father, and compassionate patriarch. The fairy tale chapter of Albert's life finally began in 2011. After years of anticipation, he married Charlene Wittstock, a former Olympic swimmer from South Africa. Their spectacular 4-day wedding celebration was Monaco's first royal wedding since Rainier and Grace's own nuptials in 1956. The world watched as Charlene became Princess Charlene, and a new future for the Grimaldi dynasty was secured. Still, even royal romances have their hurdles. Whispers of cold feet and adjustment struggles swirled around the newlyweds, but Albert and Charlene persevered. In 2014, joyously Charlene gave birth to twins, Prince Jacques and Princess Gabriella. Prince Jacques, although the younger twin by 2 minutes, is the hereditary prince and will one day succeed Albert, thanks to Monaco's male preference succession laws. And Gabriella is the spirited princess often seen at her father's side. These twins instantly charmed Monaco's citizens and became the focus of Albert's world. 1. Princess Stephanie, the rebel with a cause. The youngest of Grace Kelly's children, Princess Stephanie Marie Elizabeth, was born in February 1965. If Caroline was the poised princess and Albert the steady prince, Stephanie was often dubbed the wild child of the family, a free spirit who carved out her own unconventional path. But Stephanie's life was profoundly shaped by the darkest moment the Grimaldis ever faced, the car accident that killed her mother. Stephanie was in the car with Grace during the 1982 crash, and at just 17 she not only endured serious physical injuries, but also the unimaginable trauma of losing her mom right beside her. For a long time, Stephanie struggled with guilt and grief. It took nearly a year for her to heal from her injuries, and she later admitted that it took far longer to heal the emotional wounds. In the years immediately after the tragedy, young Stephanie rebelled in ways that made tabloid headlines, but also in ways that showed her resilience. She tried to escape the pain by diving into a glamorous, creative life. Stephanie worked briefly as a fashion model, appearing in magazines like Vogue and Vanity Fair in the mid-1980s. She then surprised everyone by launching a pop music career. In 1986, she released a catchy single called Oregon, Irresistible in English, which became a hit in Europe. She even put out 2 albums by 1991. For a princess who had just been a teenager in school, this foray into showbiz was bold and unprecedented. It seemed the Hollywood gene from her mom had resurfaced in Stephanie. But it was Stephanie's love life in the 1990s that truly earned her the label of the family rebel. She famously fell in love with someone far outside royal circles, her bodyguard, Daniel Ducrouet. By the early 90s, Stephanie and Daniel were a couple, and she had 2 children with him, Louis in 1992 and Pauline in 1994, before they even married. When Princess Stephanie married Daniel in 1995, it caused a media frenzy. The royal rebel marrying her former bodyguard was like a plot from a romance novel. For a brief moment, Stephanie seemed to have the family life she craved, but it wasn't to last. A scandal, involving paparazzi and Daniel's indiscretion, rocked the marriage, and the couple divorced in 1996. Barely a year after their wedding, Stephanie was left a single mother of 2 toddlers in her early 30s, facing public scrutiny but determined to protect her children from the limelight. Then, in 1998, she quietly had a 3rd child, a daughter named Camille. Stephanie never publicly revealed the father's name on the birth certificate, but it was widely believed to be another former bodyguard, Jean-Raymond Gottlieb, and Camille later acknowledged him as her dad. Because her parents never married, Camille, like her older siblings, is not in Monaco's line of succession. But that never mattered to Stephanie. In the early 2000s, she shocked everyone again by running away with a circus, literally. She had a brief romance with an elephant trainer, Franco Chini, and even traveled through Europe with his circus troupe, taking her kids along for the ride. It was an oddly fitting chapter for a princess known to buck tradition. During that time, Stephanie developed a deep affection for circus life, especially the animals. In 2003, she married Adonis Lopez Perez, an acrobat from that circus. They wed in a private ceremony, Stephanie's second marriage, but it lasted only about 10 months before ending in divorce in 2004. After that, the princess decided enough was enough with the romantic roller coaster. She returned to Monaco with her children, ready to focus on more meaningful endeavors. In the end, Grace Kelly's 3 children didn't just inherit her name, they inherited her spirit, and they continue to write the next chapters of her remarkable story. Now, if you found their journey as fascinating as we did, make sure to join us next time for another story behind the royals. And before you go, here's one final tip. Hit subscribe to see more stories like this unfold.